Distance Learning with Miss Sorensen.
Hello, kindergartners! Welcome to our very last day of My World and I. We have been traveling around Asia, and now we're going to get to my favorite part, looking at the art in our continent. And wow, Asia has some amazing art. We're going to take a peek at a few examples first. I'm going to show you in just a second. And then we have 3 different art projects today that we are going to do. All 3 of them are smaller, and we will do them together. Now, before we begin, I want to say a big hello to 102, welcome. 103, nice to see you. 104, glad you could make it. And 171, lovely to see you. So, like I said, we are going to take a peek at some artwork that we can see and has been created in Asia. I'm going to show you some slides. I'm just going to transition into some pictures and you can just watch. The pictures will go by and then I'll pop back on at the end after the pictures are done. As you're watching, I want you to look and see what kind of artwork we are seeing, what is being created, how are they creating it, and looking at patterns, shapes, designs, colors, all that kind of good stuff and beautiful stuff that we can see in Asian artwork. So I'm going to show those pictures now, and then I'll pop back on when you're done watching. See you in a second.
Here you can see some paintings. You can see them done on paper, on screens, and on fabric. In these pictures, we can see examples of lanterns. They're used in festivals, they're used for lighting the streets. They're also given as good luck. There's lots of different colors and designs. Here we can see examples of sculptures. We can see some are made out of string, some are made out of stone, some are really, really big, and some are very small. Here we can see lots and lots of different examples of Chinese characters. We'll talk about them more in one of our art projects. Even clothing is considered an art form. We can see different examples of kimonos, different colors, different textures, different fabrics. Very beautiful. Here you can see examples of pottery. We can see some that we would use for vases, some we would use for cooking and eating food, and others are just for looking. One of my favorite Asian artwork pieces is origami. Maybe you've heard of it before. The ancient art of paper folding. And of course, we can't forget about the Great Wall of China. Even structures and bridges can be considered an art form.
Wow. Just wow. Oh my goodness, there is things from paintings to sculptures to giant people made out of stone to the Great Wall of China. Raise your hand if you have heard of the Great Wall of China before. Right. Oh, so beautiful. Even a giant bridge is a piece of artwork. There was clothing, kimonos. There was paper origami. We're going to be talking about that and maybe doing our own origami later, just saying. And so much more. Wow. If you want, you can go back and take a peek at some of those pieces of artwork and look at them closer and see some things maybe that you didn't notice the first time around. All of it is beautiful. Love it. I love it all. So we are going to be doing 3 different art projects today. Now, one of the art projects is something that we wouldn't necessarily think of as art, but it is so beautiful. And we're going to take a peek at that first. These are called Chinese characters. Not characters in a film or a movie, but characters like our letters. Chinese characters are how people communicate and write and read it looks a lot different from ours. There's so much detail that goes into these characters, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about what they are. And let me show you some examples. There was some characters, some Chinese characters in the art slides that I showed you a little bit ago. You might recognize some of these. This is the character for the word friendship. This is friendship in English, and this is the character for it, the Chinese character. This is the Chinese character for love. And this is the Chinese character for peace. Now, when we look at these three characters, are we noticing any letters like F? Do we see that? R? No. Right. These are different from our written word, our written letters. Now, these characters or symbols were created thousands of years ago, at least 3,000 years ago. And they make up one of the oldest used written systems or written languages in the world. And the art of writing these Chinese characters is called calligraphy. Now, you're noticing, we talked about a second ago, there's not any letters. They're called characters because each group of lines and dots and each symbol represents the idea of friendship. We don't read this friendship. This whole character, this whole symbol represents friendship. It's a feeling. It's what this means to somebody. Instead of when we read our language, we read the letters and the letter sense, just like we're learning in kindergarten. Now, these characters, there are tens of thousands of them. We only have 26 letters in our alphabet, but because these characters represent that feeling, that idea of friendship, that value, love, peace, there are tens of thousands of these that students just like you have to learn and memorize how to write so that they can communicate through written language or they can learn how to read books. You will see thousands and thousands and thousands of these characters that students learn how to read and write. We are going to try and practice 2 of these Chinese characters today as our first art project. The first one we are going to try and create is this one right here, friendship. So what I want you to do is take out a blank piece of paper. It could be a colored piece of paper, it could be a white piece of paper, and then take out a black marker or crayon. Now, traditionally, when these characters are created, painted onto a piece of paper, drawn onto a piece of paper, people use black ink. So that's why we are going to use our black marker or black crayon today to make it similar to when people are creating these characters on their own pieces of paper, or when you see it, when you're reading it in a book. So I'm going to turn on my document camera so you can see what I'm doing on my page, and I have my blank piece of paper ready to go, and I have my black marker. Here it is, black marker. Okay, so I'm gonna turn this on. Awesome. So you can have it either this way or this way, it's up to you. I'm gonna put this here. So I'm gonna fold it over so we're just looking at the word friendship. Okay, so we are gonna be creating this symbol today, this character for friendship. Remember, we're not sounding out friendship. We are actually drawing a character, drawing a symbol that represents the idea of friendship. So I have my black marker, and what I'm gonna start out with is this kind of swoopy line right here. So I'm gonna draw kind of this swoopy line. And usually when these characters are made, they have a very thick line. So I'm gonna go back and make another line and maybe put a line in the middle. There we go. So now I have that thick black line. If you need me to pause, you can pause the video. The next thing that I'm gonna do is I'm going to draw this line right here, this kind of straight line like that. So it kind of makes that T shape that's slightly diagonal, slightly curvy at the bottom. I'm gonna make this little line kind of going down a little bit halfway from the bottom to this line right here, I'm gonna make a little swoopy line up, like that. Make it a little thicker. There we go. Then I'm gonna do this bottom part here. I'm gonna go down like this. There we go. And I just have one more line at the bottom that I need to do. So I'm gonna go this line diagonal outwards. Kind of looks like it angles off at the side a little bit. So I'm gonna go like that. There we go. So we have now created the Chinese character for friendship. At the bottom, I'm gonna label my character. And I'm gonna write, I can see the letters right here. I'm gonna write F. And then I see an R. Oh, I'm gonna turn the camera a little bit. There we go. I see an I. E. N. D. Friend. Ooh, this is a compound word. Compound words are when you have two words that you mush together. So we have the word friend and we have the word ship. We put them together and we make the word friendship. Friendship. There we go. Okay, so we've made the character for friendship. Now we are also going to do the character for peace. Peace. Now this character has those lines that we just did and kind of these dot shapes that we're going to add. So first we're going to start out, remember if you need to pause, you can pause. First we're going to start out with this kind of straight line down. I'm going to make it a little bit thicker. There we go. And now if you notice, this first line on the top it's shorter. Ooh, math vocabulary. Shorter. So we're going to draw kind of a shorter line at the top. Shorter line at the top, making it thicker. Kind of made a T shape. And then when I draw my line in the middle, I need to make sure that it's longer than this line up here. So I'm going to start a little bit further away in the middle and draw across, and then I'm going to make this line thicker. There we go. Nice. I see very careful writing. Awesome. So then I'm going to make kind of this blobby shape, this dot. I just made sort of a oval shape that matches this as best as possible, just as close as you can. This is the first time you're trying maybe. Maybe you've done Chinese calligraphy, Chinese character writing before. And then I'm going to do another one on the other side. I see kind of an angle. There we go. I might make my top one a little bit longer, just a little bit. And we just made the symbol, the character, for the word peace. P, E, A, C, E. Now you can tell maybe your mom, your dad, your grandma, your grandpa, your next door neighbor, your sister, your brother, you can tell them that you learned how to draw and write 2 different Chinese characters. So cool. They are friendship and peace. Remember, we don't sound out the symbols. We think about how they represent a word, friendship and peace. Okay, so that was our first art thinking about calligraphy and writing and how writing and reading can also be a form of art. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna do our second art project. And you are gonna need a piece of paper, some kind of maybe construction paper, something that you can create a piece of art. I'm gonna use purple construction paper. We just need 1 piece of paper. We are also gonna need pencils and scissors. So I've got my scissors, I've got my pencil, and we'll need some sort of either staples or glue at the end. We're gonna construct something I'll tell you about in just a second. So those are the things we're gonna need. If you have a ruler somewhere close by, you can take that out because we're also gonna do some measuring. But you can use the top of your finger. If you take your pointer finger and bend it over, this part right here is the length of an inch, which is what we're gonna be measuring in a second. So I'll show you, if you don't have a ruler, how to do it with your fingers. Okay, so if you're still looking for pieces of paper or pencils or scissors, whatever you're needing right now, you can pause the video and do that now. If not, we are going to be making a paper lantern. And if you watched Crafternoon with me a few weeks ago, Crafternoon, we actually made lanterns for spring thinking. We made cherry blossom lanterns, and we made it a little bit differently than we're gonna do today. Similar thinking, that's why we're gonna need a stapler or a glue stick at the end, but we're gonna do some different cutting to do our lantern today. Now, the first Chinese lanterns were invented in the Eastern Han Dynasty, which is 25 to 220 AD, and used as lamps and for the worship of Buddha. Interesting. Lanterns became widely known by common people, especially during the time of festivals. Maybe you've heard of the Lantern Festival for Lunar New Year? Right. The Lantern Festival is one of the best days to view Chinese lanterns in action. It is always held on the 15th day of the first Chinese lunar month. The festival is viewed as the end of the Chinese New Year celebrations and is celebrated with the release of floating and flying lanterns. So we're going to be making kind of our own lantern today. And lanterns are usually made out of bamboo, wood, rattan, or wire, and you might even see Chinese calligraphy. You might even see this on the lanterns, or you might see painting, paper cutting, and even embroidery. Lanterns were in one of the pictures in my slides before. There was a picture of lanterns. So we are going to be making our own lantern today, but out of paper. If you would like, before you make your lantern, you can draw some designs. We're going to be cutting out our paper, so it's going to be hard to draw designs afterward. But if you want to pause the video and draw designs yourself, you can do that now and then cut out your lantern when you're ready. So what we're going to be doing is we are going to be folding our paper. We're gonna have our paper the landscape direction like this, and then we're gonna take our bottom two corners and we're gonna touch the top two corners up here. Group. There we go. Make sure I'm doing this correctly. Awesome. And then we're gonna make that crease, that fold. Now here's where the measuring comes in. Using our finger or a ruler, we're gonna take our pencil and we're gonna make little dots on our paper that are about an inch long. So I'm gonna go to the bottom where my crease is at the bottom. I just made that fold, and I'm gonna put my finger, and remember, to your knuckle here, to that knuckle that's close to the tip of your finger. So I folded my finger like this, and I'm using this part to measure. Ooh. And I'm gonna make a little dot here, and then I'm gonna keep measuring. I'm just measuring out about an inch. Okay, about an inch. We're gonna do some cutting in just a second. About an inch. Just going to my knuckle. I love being able to use my finger, and there we go. So I measured out little inches on my paper. Remember, you can pause me. So if you need more time, do that now. You can use a ruler or your knuckle like this to do your measuring. When you are done, now what you could do is you could do the same exact thing, but this time you're gonna go this way. So I'm taking my paper and I'm now doing it the portrait way. And on the opposite side, I'm gonna do a little measure down 1 inch. Okay, there we go. And then I'm gonna flip this over and I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna go down 1 inch. And then I'm going to take, you can either, if you have your ruler or some kind of piece of paper, you can connect those two dots and draw a straight line all the way down. Check this out. Ready? Ooh, my gray marker is running out of ink. There we go. So now I've made this line across, and that tells me where I'm gonna stop with my cutting. So I did some measuring, and now I'm gonna cut up to that line. Boop, there we go. Did I cut all the way to the very top? No, if I did that, it would just chop off the whole strip, and I wanna keep it together. So that's why we folded, we're cutting down at the fold, because if we cut this way and worked that way, it would chop right off. So we're just going up. And if you accidentally do it the other way, that's okay. You can do it again and then flip it around to the other direction. And we're cutting. Nice work. We're cutting. And I'm just cutting all the way up from all my dots that I made. We're cutting. Cutting. Okay. So now, after I have all of mine cut out, if you need more time, make sure to pause. Now when I open it up, I have these little strips. They're not cut all the way out because we stopped. But then when I fold this over, and then I take my stapler. This is where you can glue, but stapling's the best. What I would recommend if you're gonna glue is that you glue right now and then you hold on for at least 30 seconds, at least. Usually we count to 10, but I would hold and pinch because this might not hold all together if you just glue it. If you're gonna glue it, I would suggest stapling it soon because it will fall apart probably if you just glue it. You can try it and see what happens, but then you might need to staple it later. So I'm gonna staple at the very top. I connected these two sides. And then I'm gonna staple. And then I'm gonna come over here. And I'm gonna staple. Boop. Check it out. I have a beautiful lantern. Ooh, I'm ready for Lunar New Year next year. I got my lantern I just created right now with my cutting, and I have my cherry blossom lantern from Crafternoon. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm ready. Okay, the last thing that you can do on your lantern is create a handle so you can hang your lantern up. Now, if you were with us for Crafternoon, you will see it's very similar to what we did before. We're just gonna cut out a strip of paper. You can decide how big you want the handle to be. Maybe you could do some more measuring, make it about 1 inch. And then you are going to staple your handle on either side of your lantern. So I'm gonna take my stapler and I'm gonna staple. So now I have one side, I've stapled it into the inside. You can see my staples, but if you look inside, you can see the little strip of paper. And then I'm gonna put the strip on the other side. Boop, just like that. And you can decide how long it is. Maybe you want it to be extra long, or maybe you want it to be a really short handle. I think I'm gonna make mine a longer handle. So I've got that. And then I'm gonna staple. Check it out. I have my lantern. Oh, I don't know, I can't remember if I told you this already, but lanterns are a sign of good luck. So maybe I need to hang a lot of these up in the classroom. Should I do that? I think that would look very nice. Maybe I'll do lots of different colors. Okay, so that was our second important artwork that we can see in Asian culture. We are gonna now end with our third and final art project. You might have heard of this style of art before. It's called origami. Now, origami is actually translated, literally means folding paper. You might have seen some of the origami in the picture slides that I showed before. A lot of people think about origami as a crane, a kind of bird. You might see origami commonly done in the shape of a crane or in flowers. But origami, it can be done lots of different ways. Lots of different things can be created with origami. And origami, a lot of people think of origami and they think of Japanese culture. But origami is actually done all over Asia. And origami, nobody actually knows where it came from. But a lot of people believe that it actually originated or came from China. Chinese peoples were the first to create origami. Nobody actually knows. But a lot of times people think of origami as a Japanese art piece, but it's actually done by a lot of different Asian cultures. And when it first was created, origami was done with only one piece of paper, folding pieces of paper in many different ways. But now you can see origami with lots of different pieces of paper folded together. We are going to use one piece of paper today to do our origami. So go ahead and take out a piece of paper. It can be construction paper, a piece of printer paper. I am going to use this blue piece of printer paper today. And then we are going to start by creating a square piece of paper. And to do that, we're going to do a fold and then a cut. So I take out your scissors if you already put them away. We need them one more time. And to do that, if we look at this piece of paper right here, does it look like a square? No, right, it looks like a rectangle because we have two long sides and two shorter sides. Now to turn this piece of paper into a square, we need to take one corner. I'm going to start at this very top corner. You can start at this corner too. That's up to you. It does not matter. I'm going to start all the way up here, and I'm going to take this corner and fold it down, 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 so that it creates this triangle shape. And I'm going to get it to the point where the top and bottom, this line and this line are connected. So they're touching. And then I'm going to fold my piece of paper just like this. That looks like a square, right? Yeah, square? Uh-huh. Oh. Well, it kind of looks like a triangle, actually, with a little rectangle. We're going to cut that little rectangle off. So we just created a triangle with our paper. And now we're going to take our scissors and we're going to cut the rectangle off. Careful cutting. We need our paper to be as close to a square as possible. Does anybody know what happens if you put two triangles together? It turns into a square. There we go. Now we've got our square piece of paper. Now, the first thing, I have my instructions ready to go. The first thing that we are going to be doing is we are going to fold a paper square in half from top to bottom. We have our paper square. So we're going to take our top. You can do this way, you can fold it, or this way you can fold it. I'm going to take my bottom two corners and I'm going to touch the top two corners. And now we have that ready to go. Now we have a thin rectangle. Before we had a square, now we have a thin rectangle. The next part that we're going to do, we're going to open back up our square so that we have our square shape again. And we're going to take this bottom line, and instead of folding it all the way up to the top now, we're going to pretend this middle line is our top. And we're going to fold in the bottom to meet that middle line we just created. So I'm folding, I found my middle line, and then unfolding my little paper, creasing it. Yeah, exactly. And then guess what you're going to do on the other side? Exact same thing. Flipping it over. I'm taking this bottom now because I flipped it over. It was like this. Now I'm flipping it around. I'm going to take this and touch the middle right where this one is. If you need more time, feel free to pause the video. There we go. What? So now if I open it up, I would have 1, 2, 3, 4 long rectangles, but I want to keep this closed because next we're going to be folding some little triangles. So I'm gonna start over here. You can start on this side or this side, that's up to you. And I'm gonna start, and I'm gonna take this little corner up here, and I'm gonna do kind of like we did earlier when we were making the square. I'm gonna fold this in so it's touching the middle right here. Now we made an even smaller triangle. It's so small. Okay, so we did that. We made our smaller triangle. So now we're gonna do the exact same thing on the other side. I'm gonna fold this in to the middle. If you have made a paper airplane before, this is very similar folding. Look, mine don't exactly meet. Is that okay? Yeah, that's totally fine. Okay, so I'm gonna turn my instructions over so I know what to do next. Oh, that's right. So now we are gonna fold this. We're gonna keep these two edges folded, but we're gonna fold along the middle and close it, just like that. And look, do my edges exactly meet? No, is that okay? Totally, that's exactly what I am looking for. Doesn't matter if they're perfectly meeting each other. Okay, next step. I'm gonna flip this over so the point is at the top. And then what I am going to do is I'm gonna fold this. Gotta look here. Oh, I'm gonna fold this so the line, that triangle, is along this line. So I'm gonna go like this, and I'm gonna fold it so that my little edge, my little corner, goes past this long line, like that. It doesn't have to be exactly like mine. You could have a different length that's going past, but your goal is to have it go past this long line right here. And then I'm gonna fold this over, and I'm gonna do something here. You can follow along with me, or you can wait to see what I do, and then maybe you'll know what we just created. I'm gonna do a little eyeball, and I'm gonna do a little smiley face. And then I'm gonna do some lines right here. Maybe that gives you a hint. And then I'm gonna do that line right here. And then maybe I'll do some lines like here. Does that give you a hint what we just created? Yeah, we just folded our piece of paper. We just did origami and created a fish. It could be, maybe it's a shark or a fish. It's however you want it to look. You could add details, you could add rainbows, you could add scales, whatever you want to do to finish your origami fish. So there you go. We learned about Chinese characters, calligraphy. We created our friendship and peace characters. We learned about our lanterns, our lucky lanterns, and we got to create our own lanterns. And we learned how to create an origami fish. Okay, everyone, awesome art working today. I hope you had a great time learning about Asian artwork. I loved talking about it. Like I said, everything is so beautiful, so colorful. We see a lot of nature in the artwork, and lots of different mediums, lots of different ways that they create art in Asia. So I hope you learned something new and can show off your artwork to somebody at home. Until then, have a great rest of your week. And this will be our last day traveling to Asia. So next time you see us, we will be traveling to our new continent, Oceania. Okay, my little flyers, I will see you next time. And until then, happy traveling. Bye.